On this side of the room, make some noise. This side of the room, make some noise. All right, let's welcome Anthony Winner.
Cheers, buddy. Hello, Trentham. How are we? This is lovely. You're very lucky to have me. I'm very picky, very selective about venues. When Koki asked me, I said, I will do it, but I do have certain conditions. He said, what is it? I said, well, these days, I'm only gigging in sheds in Premier Inn car parks. He said, that's fine, don't worry. I said, well, you say that, but it's got to be with at least 100 metres of a circus. And a needlessly large Ferris wheel. And he's managed to sort it. I did say there is one more condition. I need to get at least 1,000 steps in every time I need to go for a piss. So it's come through. It's genuinely, it's nice. It's lovely to be out and about. Mainly because I share a house with 2 teenagers. And I should point out they're mine. That'd be weird, wouldn't it? Get in the van! No, she escaped. So I've got two teenage sons. I've got one that's 17. He's doing his A-levels at the moment. He's just applied for Oxford, McDonald's, and he's really funny. Sam was talking about autism. He's recently been diagnosed as autistic, which has come as a big relief to me because up until that point, I thought he was just a dick. Turns out he's not. Turns out he's an autistic dick. So that's very different. It's legally very different. When people find out you've got an autistic child, they always ask the same questions. The first one they'll usually ask is they'll go, ooh, he's autistic. Does he take everything literally? I'm like, no, he's not a kleptomaniac. Weird. Or they'll say, oh, he's autistic. Does he have any special gifts? And well, I did buy him a personalised mug for Christmas. But... Or the most common one is, oh, if he's autistic, does that mean he has trouble communicating? And I say, well, if he does, he's never said. So that's my eldest. That's my eldest, Joe. We'll call him Joe because that's his name. And then my youngest 15, and he's currently studying to be a knobhead. That's what he's doing. He's very close to getting there. I think he's in year 11. He's doing his GCSEs this year, and that's a tough year for parents. So have you got similar? So you were nodding in agreement there. Do you teach that age, or have you got kids that age? Yeah, you'll know what they're like, right? Proper dicks, aren't they? Proper knobheads. Did you have to have the conversation like I've had to have recently where you have to pretend that GCSEs matter? It's really hard, isn't it? I never wanted to lie to my children, but no, Tom, it's really, really important that you do very well at your GCSEs for the 24 hours you give a toss before you enroll in college. No, it really does matter. But yeah, he's not into it. He doesn't like the revision and all that. He'd rather be hanging out with his mates, and they're knobheads as well. Every town's got them. They've all got them. You'll be able to spot them, right? They dress head to toe in designer casual wear. Like, they spend hundreds of pounds to wear what I wear when I'm working from home. It's fucking mental. He came home the other night and he was like, check this out. And he got this designer Mercier top, like sweatshirt, Mercier, sweatpants. I was like, yeah, what about it? He went, 255 quid. I was like, what kind of a knobhead spends 255 quid on the shit you could get in Primark? And then I realised I'm the knobhead, aren't I? I'm the one who's spending that on his shit. But he hangs around with his mates a lot in town. And now you'll see these in any town. They're all the same. They're all head to toe in designer gear, but they've all now got a uniform haircut, the teenage knobheads. I don't know if you've noticed this. All the same. Shaved short round the back and sides, long and fluffy on the top. So when they're wandering around, it looks like a herd of alpaca have escaped from the zoo. Unbelievable. They are proper knobheads. But I was thinking, like, it's different. Like, they have different things to deal with. Like, when I was a teenager, we had unlimited access to alcohol and very limited access to porn. And that's reversed now, right? A lot of young ones, they don't drink. We drank a lot when we were teenagers. I remember drinking a lot of White Lightning cider. Do you remember that in the park? Used to drink that 2 litres, and Rachel Fell would let you touch her. That was basically how it worked. Felly, fanny like a welly, we call it. So you can't do that anymore. They can't do that. Teenagers can't do that because that would be body shaming. Can't do that anymore. But But in the reverse, like, porn was very scarce when we were around. There was only two ways of getting hold of porn. One was in the bottom of your dad's wardrobe, and the other one was you had to go out in the woods and hope that the porn fairies had left their little treasure trove behind, right? And then when I got a little bit older, when I became a teenager, then we had the internet for the first time. And of course, then it was dial-up porn. Now, I don't know if you've ever experienced dial-up porn. It certainly isn't any kind of video porn like you would get today. It's basically a jazz mag by installment, is what you get. You start loading up and you go, whoa, look at those eyebrows, whoa. And it leaves it honestly, it gives you PTSD. Like, even now, if I'm on a first date with a woman, I get her to hold a sheet in front of her and just gradually lower it. Sometimes I make it as far as the shoulder blades. And it's incredible, right? But the one thing we didn't do when we were teenagers, we didn't do drugs. Right? We didn't do drugs as teenagers, and that was for one very simple reason, because in the 80s, we were told not to do drugs by a guy called Zamo Maguire. Now, there will only be a few of you remember that. It was a show called Grange Hill, and in the late 80s, they did a campaign called Just Say No. And we were stupid enough to just believe that. And we did just say no until around about the early 90s. And then rave culture came out and we're all off our faces on pills. So didn't work for very long. But they're very different, right? So these teenage knobheads, right, these alpacas, they're just roaming free. Someone needs to like gather them up and put them in some sort of sanctuary, I think. And they're like the biggest thing that we have on our local community Facebook group. Have you got one of those around here? Yeah, what's yours called? You can't remember. So mine's one of the old school. It's like Spotted Derby is the one, yeah. And it basically, it's just full of people my age moaning about shit, right? So the worst thing they ever did was allow anonymous posting on these community groups, because it is just ranty people. Like yesterday I saw one that said, if I find any more shit on my garden, I mean, to be fair, it wasn't a dog, so, you know, kind of had a point, I guess. But the teenage knobheads are usually the subject of it, and what it is they like getting in trouble. They only do like the petty crimes. Like the thing they're doing at the moment a lot is where I live, is they're just nicking people's bikes and then they just ride around on them for a couple of hours and then they dump them. So you scroll down the Facebook group and it's my bike's been nicked, followed by a photo of a bike going, is this anybody's bike? Followed by my bike's been nicked. And it's basically, you just got to match them up. Right, is what's going on. The other thing we have to do on our Facebook group, I don't know if you do this, is you have to be a detective these days. You have to be a doorstep detective. I don't know if you've seen that. You just get a picture of someone's front door and they go, does anyone recognise this door? I've had a parcel delivered, but it's not my house. So we have to do that. I think it's the couriers. I think they're just like, fuck it, that'll do. We'll get within a mile and just let Facebook sort it out. I think that's what they're on to. Like in 6 months' time, I don't think they'll even leave the depot. I think what they'll do is they'll just go to B&Q, buy 6 coloured doors, and just take the photo and then just fuck off back home. I think that's what they're doing. So we have that going on. But usually it's people moaning about the knobheads, right? About the alpacas wandering around, right? So I want to get in on this, right? I want to be the ranty man, because anonymous posting sounds good to me. I just make shit up as well. I'm like, just random stuff like, is that anyone's lion on Stanley Street? And just see what happens. Just see what happens. Right. So I was looking out the window the other night, I was having my tea, and I saw these alpacas. I will be honest, actually, I could smell them before I could see them. I had the window open. It's like a heady mix of weed and Lynx Africa, right? And I looked out and I thought, here they come, here's the alpacas out for their evening walk, right? And one of them was on a bike. And I was like, oh, he's nicked that. That's going to be on Facebook in half an hour. And I went back to my tea. And then I suddenly thought, and I looked back out the window, I was like, hang on a minute, that's mine. It wasn't. I went round mine was still locked up in the shed, all chained up. And that's where he's staying till he's done his revision. So it was my child. So they are. But also, I was thinking, like, everything's different these days, because everything's now moved online. Like back in the day, when I was young, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have that, and I think it was just a different time. Like, we remember it with nostalgic views, but actually it was a weird time growing up. Like, when I grew up, like, it was back in the day when you would get up on a Saturday morning and you'd have your breakfast, and then you go out on your bike for hours on end. Your parents didn't know where you were, they didn't care, to be honest. What we didn't notice was all the pampas grass and keys in the bowl as we were leaving the house. We never saw any of that. And we'd go out on your bike, and then you come back at lunchtime, and you'd have your Finder's crispy pancakes, and then you would sit and watch a TV show religiously every Saturday lunchtime when I was a kid. Now, many of you won't remember this, but there used to be a show called World of Sport. Okay? Now, if you've never heard of that show, just picture in your mind what that might be like. World of Sport. It could be anything, couldn't it? It could be the Super Bowl, it could be the FA Cup final, it could be absolutely anything. Never was. Never was. It was one of two things. It was either Duncan Goodhue in the pool doing the backstroke, or two middle-aged men in Swindon leisure centres wrestling in trunks. That's basically what we got. That was it every week. Every week we would have that. We'd sit, we'd watch the swimming, we'd watch the wrestling, then we'd go back out on our bikes again. And when we got home, our parents were all like out of breath and sweaty, and Mr. Jones from down the road was there, and we didn't know why. And then we would sit down as a family, and we would watch proper, wholesome family Saturday night primetime TV. These things were the pinnacle of family TV. It would start with Rolf's Cartoon Club. We'd have It's a Knockout with Stuart Hall. And then Jimmy Savile would come on. It was amazing, right? It was incredible. Basically what I'm telling you though is Saturdays when I grow up started with Speedos. And I think you know how it ended. That's what we would have. But the parents were in on it. That was the thing, right? They were everywhere. Pedos were everywhere when I was growing up. We just didn't know. We weren't warned like people today would know. All we got was, oh, you know that bloke lives on his own at the end of the street. Might want to watch out for him. Bit of a character. Bit of a character. Doing 25 years in strange ways, that guy is. Of course, we had to wait for the 90s to catch him because the 70s pedos were very nimble. We were very quick. We had to wait for them. That's why we caught them all like 20 years later, because they were flying around in the 70s. That's why they were always doing marathons. That's why they was keeping in trim. But they were in on it, right? Well, we would sit and watch Jim or Savile, and my dad would be like, why don't you write in? He seems a nice fella. I'm like, I don't really know what I'd want him to do. Why don't you just see if you can hang out with him for the day? Just, maybe see if you can do some backstage, maybe sit on his knee. Honestly, they were awful. You just want us out of the house so they could go swimming. And I think that's basically what was going on. But the one thing I did think is very different is the whole dating experience. So back in the day, right, when I was dating, this is pre-internet, we had very simple routines, right? And I know it's much more complicated these days because young people have got they do a full background check these days, don't they? They start with, what do they look like? Yeah, they look okay, I'll swipe on that. Then they read the bio and they're like, yeah, I mean, he is a millionaire and he plays football for Man United, but he says he doesn't like cats. So we didn't have any of that back in my day. What we would do as a teenage boy, on a Friday night, you would go out, you catch the bus into your local city, and you get to the best nightclub in town. You'd know it was a good nightclub because it'd have a classy name like Sinatra's or Ritzy or Cinderella's, something like that. You'd have 17 bottles of Holston pills, and then you just wait for the DJ to play Kiss from a Rose by Seal. That's all you had to do. Back in those days, most of them had revolving dance floors as well. It was like Deliveroo for girlfriends. It was an incredible time. You just sit and wait. Well, I say it was more like a Lazy Susan at a Chinese buffet, if I'm honest, where you're like, no, I don't fancy that. No. I had one of them last week, didn't agree with me. Right? And then basically what would happen is the girl of your dreams would have just enough Holston pills to agree to a one-night stand. And then if you woke up and she was there, that'll do. That was it. That was all we do. Next thing you know, you're married with 2 kids. It's very complicated these days. I became single in my 40s. I got divorced in my mid-40s. And I didn't know how to get back on the dating scene, right? So I rang my mate Daz and I said, look, I don't know how all this works. He went, mate, it's all online now. It's all tech. And I'm like, I don't do technology. I'm 52 years old, for God's sake. I don't do technology. I'll tell you how bad I am with technology. Last week, for the first time, I decided to order my shopping online. Right? So I installed the Tesco app, put all my login details in, started putting things in the basket. Saw a little warning pop up that said minimum order value £50. Made sure I went way above that. Hit checkout, didn't work, tried again, didn't work. I ended up on the phone to Tesco's tech support. I'm like, what's going on? And he went, oh, is this the first time you've tried to use the app? I said, it is. He said, don't worry, this happens all the time. All you need to do, delete your cookies, try again. I did that and it just said basket empty. So, it's just biscuits. I have put on a bit of weight recently. I've got I say recently, since 1984, if I'm honest. I'm trying to do something about it though. I don't think this lifestyle helps. Like being a comedian, we work weird hours, like we're often out at meal times, and I don't ever feel like eating before a gig. But then after a gig, when the adrenaline's worn off and you've all calmed down, you get ravenously hungry. Of course, by that time it's late. You're on your way home, you don't have a lot of choice. So what I usually do is I'll end up stopping off at McDonald's. There's one on the A50 on the way back, just by Utoxeter, not that I know. And I'll just pop in, and I'll just have a little teeny tiny post-gig snack. Nothing much, just 2 or 3 Big Mac meals, 7 McFlurries, 4 apple pies, Diet Coke, obviously. But you'll be very proud of me. Last night I was gigging in Liverpool, and on the way back I did stop at McDonald's, to be fair, but instead of all that, I just had a kid's meal. And his mum was fucking furious about it. Jesus, she proper went off on that fat little shit. Didn't need those nuggets, if you're asking me. Probably the last thing I should have said to his mum in hindsight, to be honest. And you're right, taking the toy was mean. No need for that at all. So that's one thing I've tried. Another thing I've tried recently is just making little tweaks to my diet. So what I've done is I drink a lot of coffee during the day, and I'm a big fan of cereals. I eat too many cereals. So what I thought I would do is swap out my milk. Have you seen those alternative milks that they've got in the supermarkets now? Yeah, it's almond milk, oat milk and all that. So I've tried all of them. Couldn't find one that I liked until last week. Last week went in the supermarket, completely different section. They got this stuff. It's incredible. I highly recommend it. It comes in a 1 litre bottle and it's called Bailey's. Mate, honestly, you put that in your coffee, your days fly by. It's amazing stuff. And good for the diet as well, because last week I think I lost nearly 3 days. So I've done that. Other thing I've done recently is I've joined a gym. Have we got any gym members in? I didn't think so. I just didn't want to judge. Didn't want to prejudge you. So you look like you must go to the gym. What's your name, mate? Me. Yeah, you. Ian. You're not a gym goer? No. Oh, you look like you are, man. You look proper hench. You look like you could bend girders with your bare arms, man. What you do? What you do in the real world? You join it. Oh, you bend wood with your bare arms. Snaps, doesn't it? I joined a gym recently, and I don't know if you've ever been a member of a gym, but I had this weird experience when I joined. I joined on the Wednesday afternoon. And on the Thursday morning, I got a phone call, not from the gym, from my credit card company to talk about the suspicious activity. That is not a good start, Ian, is it? That's not a great start. And I went a few times, and then my favourite machine stopped working, and I fucked if I'm taking my own Mars bars with me, so I'm done. I'm done with the gym. I'm just going to have to deal with this. But the reason I'm trying to lose weight, as I mentioned, I got divorced a few years back, is I think I'm ready to go on the dating scene now. And as I mentioned, I spoke to Daz and he said, right, it's all online. And I had my little experience with Tesco's. But I felt ready and I felt confident about going online dating because I'd read an article that said middle-aged women find bald men very attractive. I can see a few of you. It sounds like middle-aged men also. Stoke on a Thursday. I'll take it. No, think about it. Like, there's a lot of bold icons nowadays, isn't there? You got The Rock, you've got Jason Statham, Bruce Willis, even John Travolta. Did you know he'd come out as bald recently? He's out of the closet now. He is. He's going to be with us. He'll be with us on Pride next year, up at the front. I say he's bald. He's bi. He wears a toupee a lot of the time, but we're very inclusive. So I was really, really confident, right? So I signed up for this site, and I thought, right, I'll just sit back and I'll wait for the matches to come. And a few days went by, nothing. A week went by, nothing. I was like, this is weird. What is going on? Now I can see a few of your faces looking at me now going, come on. There must be thousands of women find a man attractive who manages to look like both of the Mitchell brothers. And you can't see that, can you? But I eventually figured out what it was. I had a look on my profile. I was like, oh, look at these pictures. They're awful. They're all blurry. They're all out of focus. So I went into town, got myself the very latest Samsung Ultra phone, the best camera phone on the market. And I thought this will help. I went on YouTube. I looked up lighting, looked up the best angles. I built a studio at my house. And it paid off. It paid off, Trenton, because it radically improved the quality of my dick pics. So you look absolutely disgusted at that. And so you should, because not even Samsung can do it justice, if I'm honest. If I'm honest. Take better pictures of the moon. But I did get a match, right? And I was really excited. It'd been a long time since I was on a date. You know, back in the days when we go down Ritz's on a Friday night. And so I rang Daz for advice. And I was like, mate, you were right. It is all online. I've got a match. She wants to meet. What do I do? And he was like, well, look, what you want to do is you've just got to get through that first date, right? Don't be a dick. Don't do anything weird. Don't do anything that would fail to meet her expectations. Just do whatever you can. Basically, he said, don't be you, right? And so I got really excited, and we spoke, and I was like, okay, where do you want to go for this first date? She's like, you can choose. And I said, well, okay, I'll tell you what we'll do. Wednesday night, we'll go to this little gastro pub I know. Now, I think they're a chain, but I've not seen one around here. I don't know if you've come across them. They're called Wetherspoons. I don't know if you've seen them. And I said, let's go Wednesday night. It's curry. It's 2 for 1 on curry on a Wednesday night, so you'll only have to pay for one meal. I thought that was very generous of me. And I got all excited about it, and I was thinking, what am I going to wear? I got my dupe aftershave back out and everything. I was having a look at back issues of Loaded magazine to see how to make an impression on a first date. And just as I was leaving the house, like, she rings me and says, oh God, Anthony, there's something I need to tell you, and you're not going to be pleased about this. And I remembered what Daz was saying. I said, don't worry, whatever it is, I can deal with it. She went, well, there's only really one way of saying this. I said, go on. She said, I'm expecting a baby. And that's a lot, isn't it? That is a lot. But I didn't want to let her down, so I turned up in Wetherspoons wearing just a nappy. And then she blocked me. I don't know what went wrong. Honestly, I did everything I could to meet her expectations. I mean, if anything, that's on her, right? That's weird, isn't it? Isn't that a weird thing to want on your first date? That's odd, isn't it? I mean, she had a badge and everything. She was proud about it. Baby on board. It said I wasn't on board at all. It was awful. So that didn't work out. And now, I don't normally tell this bit, but you seem like a lovely, lovely audience, so I'm going to confess something. That is not the worst dating experience I've had. The worst dating experience I've had was actually quite close by. It was in Stoke, right? And I was gigging, and I was staying in Stoke, and I thought, I'm going to go out for a few beers. And I ended up having too many beers, right? And I had so many beers, I ended up in a different part of town, didn't know where I was, absolutely rat-arsed and skint. And I was like, oh, this is terrible. I don't even know where my hotel is, never mind how I'm going to get back. And it was at that point, in that moment of weakness, that I accidentally downloaded and installed the Grindr app. Now, I don't know if you've come across Grindr. Come across, probably not the right phrase, is it? But then I accidentally created my own little bio and accidentally uploaded 47 pictures of myself in various states of undress, but perfect focus. That camera's really good. And then I accidentally matched with a guy in the same club. Now, as luck would have it, he wasn't drinking, he was driving. So what I managed to do was convince him to drive us both back to my hotel, and it worked out cheaper than an Uber. So, winner. Plus blowjob, which I'd never given before. It was a whole new experience. What a night! And I need to go now, but before I do, I just want to say, Ian, it is lovely to see you again, mate. I hope you're doing well. Room 112, premiere in half an hour. Guys, you've been a joy. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'll see you soon. Cheers. Thank you.
20 seconds, so another break. The bar is now open. We're going to around the side. One more time, Anthony Williams, we're back in the